Imagine finding out that the omnipotent gods you've worshipped your entire life, the ones who supposedly spun the stars and carved the mountains, are actually just, well, glorified doomsday
Right.
preppers.
Like they just survived some ancient sci-fi apocalypse.
Exactly. I mean, usually when we talk about a video game's narrative, there's this expectation of like forward momentum. You point your sword at the bad guy, you swing, and you march linearly into the next level. It's clean.
Yeah, it's very binary.
But today is Sunday, June 14th, 2026, and in this deep dive into the sprawling lore of Path of Exile 2's fourth act, we are throwing that linear progression completely out the window.
Oh, we are shredding the timeline today because we're looking at a narrative landscape that operates like a massive four-dimensional web-spanning millennia.
Yeah, we've got a towering stack of notes and analysis from the YouTube channel Kit and Cat Noodle, and we're basically going to act as your archaeologist today, sorting through the rubble.
It's a phenomenal stack of sources to dig through, too, because Act 4 fundamentally rewrites the rules of engagement in Wraeclast.
It really does.
I mean, we are tasked with connecting the dots between a lost, highly advanced civilization, a mysterious religious order's terrifying crusade for this pure utopia, and a biological contagion that's setting the stage for an all-out war in Oriath.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because it starts by completely shattering the foundational mythology of the world. For the longest time, the accepted history was that Sin, the Hooded One, and his brother, the Templar god Innocence, were Asmeri.
Right, and for you listening who might need a quick refresher, the Asmeri were the native, primitive tribes of Wraeclast.
Yeah, the belief was that Sin and Innocence were born to these tribes and just, eventually ascended to divinity. But this fated memory, triggered by an ancient weapon piece, proves that is entirely false.
Totally false. That memory reconstructs a very different origin. Sin actually remembers living in a place defined by great works of stone, metal, and glass. High technology.
Which is wild for this setting.
Oh, absolutely. He remembers a kind, smiling woman who read to him from a vivid book covered in strange, non-magical symbols. And the core revelation here is that Sin, Innocence, and a previously unmentioned sister were refugees.
Wait, they had a sister?
Yeah, and they were not native. They were sent away by this smiling woman to live among the primitive Asmeri, specifically to survive a devastating event, something called a precursor cataclysm.
Also referred to as the Great Fire, or the Endless Winter, right?
Exactly.
I am still trying to wrap my head around the cultural theft of it all. I mean, these precursors flee a crumbling, high-tech utopia, drop into a primitive society, and essentially use their advanced knowledge to masquerade as divine figures.
It's a massive con, basically.
And the ultimate irony, Innocence's famous symbol, the golden emblem the Templars have violently crusaded under for centuries, burning heretics at the stake in his name, he stole it.
He totally stole it.
He literally adopted a warning sign or a crest from other precursor newcomers who were fleeing the cleansing fire. The entire foundation of the Templar faith is just a borrowed aesthetic from a lost civilization.
Which really forces us to rethink what divinity actually is in this universe. Like if the gods are just technologically advanced survivors, then their creations aren't magic, they're engineered.
Right, they're machines, essentially.
Yeah, and that brings us to the edicts. What's fascinating here is how this precursor civilization fundamentally designed the current conflicts of Wraeclast through these edicts. They operate as, well, escalating fail-safe contingencies.
Wait, I need to stop you there because the mechanics of this are just wild. Let's look at the beast. Historically, we thought the beast was just this eldritch horror, right? A massive entity that suppresses the gods and generates corruption.
Yeah, a big, scary magic monster.
But Sin reveals he didn't organically create it out of divine magic. He visited the ancient being Calandra, and she pointed him to a set of ruins where the seed of corruption was already sealed. She told him it belonged to him.
And inside that ancient chamber, Sin found 3 giant murals detailing the edicts. The second mural depicted the creation of the seed of corruption. The beast itself is the second edict.
So the beast is a machine, a biological engine. I mean, if you're listening and wondering why a high-tech society would build a giant flesh monster that spews nightmare juice, we have to look at how the beast functions.
Right. Its actual purpose.
It suppresses divine power, so corruption isn't just generic evil magic. It acts like a frequency jammer. It's a radioactive byproduct of an engine specifically engineered to shut down rogue gods.
That is a perfect way to conceptualize it. It's an engineered dampening field.
Which brings us to our current objective, the precursor weapon.
Okay, yes.
The third mural portrays the destruction of the beast via this very weapon. The inscription labels the weapon as the instrument of the third edict, expressly built to cleanse the corruption and turn the beast off.
So they built the ultimate dampening engine, and then they built the off switch. But hold on, if the beast is the second edict and the weapon is the third, what on earth was the first edict? Well, the first mural in that chamber was intentionally violently smashed. We don't know.
Wow.
But think about the scale of escalation here. If a world-altering, God-suppressing, corruption-spewing abomination was their second contingency plan, what incredibly terrifying threat required the first?
That makes my blood run cold just thinking about it. But we do know the fate of the third edict. According to a legend from the local Tesalio tribe, a burned foreign medicine woman washed ashore in the Karui archipelago after a great fire.
Which is almost certainly that same smiling scientist from Sin's memory, right?
Oh, absolutely. She scattered the 3 pieces of the precursor weapon into the sea and then built a mysterious forge to assemble it right before succumbing to her wounds.
And the location of that forge is the pivot point of our entire current crisis. She built it on the island of Wraeclast.
And that specific geography, the fact that she built this contingency forge on Wraeclast thousands of years ago, is exactly why our ancient archaeology suddenly becomes a modern hostage situation. Because look who controls Wraeclast today, the Twilight Order.
Yeah, and the Twilight Order requires a deep analysis because their philosophy drives the immediate plot. They are a heretical splinter group of the original Templars.
Who somehow survived centuries of inquisitions.
Exactly. And visually, they reject the Templar red and gold, opting for vibrant purple garments and an inverted version of Innocence's stolen symbol. Philosophically, they despise all gods.
Right, they hate the divine.
Their ultimate goal, led by Countess Oriana, is a pure utopia, completely free of divinity and corruption.
Here's where it gets really interesting. I have to challenge Oriana's logic here because it feels entirely contradictory.
How so?
Well, if Oriana's religion is based on hating gods, achieving absolute purity, and wiping out corruption, why is her very first move in the narrative to physically steal the seed of the beast?
Oh, right.
Isn't that like a germaphobe breaking into a lab to steal a petri dish of weaponized Ebola? It makes no sense.
It seems contradictory until you look at how extremist ideologies justify the means to reach an end. Oriana deliberately lured you, the player, allowed you to defeat Count Janor, and then stole the beast seed.
Sneaky.
But she didn't just take it straight to Oriath to awaken it. She brought it to Wraeclast first. She brought the physical source of all corruption directly to her stronghold.
Because they need the precursor forge. They know we're coming with the weapon pieces, and they need to guard the only off switch to their new toy.
They're guarding it, yes, but they are also studying it. When we finally breach that excavation site and step into the precursor forge, we find 3 more massive murals. But these aren't the edicts Sin saw.
Right, these are operational blueprints for the weapon itself.
Exactly.
Mural 1 is literally a schematic. It shows the forged chamber we're standing in, with the weapon and these massive surrounding statues.
And Mural 2 is the application. It shows the beast being stabbed with the weapon by figures that look exactly like those statues, with the Wraeclast chapel clearly visible in the background.
But Mural 3 is where the Twilight Order's true hypocrisy is laid bare.
It depicts a highly complex, bizarre biochemical process.
Yeah, if you're listening to this and wondering why anyone would pump demon blood into beehives, you aren't alone. That's literally what the mural shows. The beast's heart having its blood mechanically extracted, pumped into giant beehives.
Which perfectly matches the massive, mutated wasps guarding the excavation site outside.
Right. And then mixed in cauldrons. It's crazy.
This is utopian biochemistry in action. The Twilight Order isn't just trying to protect the beast. They're actively utilizing its biology. By using the giant wasps as organic centrifuges, they're trying to distill the beast's blood.
Wow.
They're trying to synthesize the corruption into a usable power source, or a serum that is entirely devoid of divine will. They want the power of the gods without the gods themselves.
But playing with that kind of raw thaumaturgical biology has catastrophic consequences. By smuggling the beast into the Karui archipelago to run these experiments, Countess Oriana triggered a localized biological meltdown.
Yeah. If we connect this to the bigger picture, to understand the severity of this, we need to look at how corruption mechanically interacts with different human populations.
Right. It's not the same for everyone.
Exactly. For the Karui people specifically, proximity to corruption, or the use of thaumaturgy, like virtue gems, triggers a terrifying condition known as blood fever.
Let's define virtue gems really quickly because it explains the biological reaction. Virtue gems are essentially crystallized pieces of raw magic that people in Wraeclast literally slot into their flesh and their armor to gain power.
That's pretty brutal.
But the Karui physiology rejects this. When a Karui is exposed to that raw thaumaturgy, their immune system doesn't just get a fever. It violently overreacts. It causes cellular hypergrowth.
Like an extreme allergic reaction.
Yes. They go homicidally mad, gain unnatural, hulking physical strength, and become highly infectious to other Karui. The sickness weaponizes their own biology against them.
Which frames the profound, unavoidable tragedy of Chieftain Tavakai of the Tukahama tribe. Tavakai is a rigid traditionalist. He enforces the way of his god, Tukahama, so strictly that he alienated his own daughter, Makoru, and her first mate, Kanu.
He demands absolute strength and isolationism.
But his ideology completely blinds him to reality. When we finally manage to forge the precursor weapon, Tavakai intercepts us. He steals the weapon right out of the forge.
Talk about bad timing.
He sees his people suffering from the blood fever introduced by the Twilight Order, and he thinks this ancient glowing relic is the answer. He hopes its power will either act as a cure or transform the Kurui into an invincible army under his command so they never have to rely on outsiders again.
But he fundamentally misunderstands the mechanism of the Third Edict. The weapon is a sponge designed to absorb the ultimate corruption. It is saturated with it.
Saturated!
So the moment Tavakai touches it, that concentrated corruption instantly infects him. He brings it back to the sacred island of Nogakanu and immediately acts as a biological bomb, infecting his entire previously safe tribe. Oh, it's heartbreaking.
And the boss fight with Tavakai is a masterclass in environmental storytelling, and it is pure nightmare fuel. You track him down, and the blood fever is mutating him in real time.
Oh, yeah.
He's dual-wielding his traditional jade axe and this glowing sci-fi precursor weapon. And by the final phase of the fight, it's not just that he looks like a monster. It's like his cellular structure couldn't differentiate between his own biological tissue and the corrupted metal of the weapon.
The fever weaponizes his immune system to fuse them together like a botched parasitic surgery.
Yes. The metal literally melds into his bone. He becomes this terrifying Edward Scissorhands with bubonic plague.
But the narrative peak of that encounter isn't the physical transformation, it's the spiritual rejection.
Oh, this part gave me chills.
In his mutated, desperate state, Tavakai cries out to his god, Tukahama, for strength to defeat you. And Tukahama, from beyond the grave in the halls of the dead, actually responds.
But he doesn't grant a blessing.
No, he reprimands Tavakai. He simply says, this is not the way. Even the god of war, a deity defined by brutal combat, looks at this biological abomination and says, you went too far. It's a devastating end to Tavakai's rigid isolationism.
Thankfully, Sin is able to reclaim the weapon, utilize its intended absorption function, and actually draw the corruption out of the area, curing Tavakai and the surviving Kurui.
Which is a huge relief.
But Tavakai's mutation, it raises an important question. It forces us to confront a glaring, almost suspicious anomaly in the biology of Wraeclast's inhabitants.
So what does this all mean? Okay, so the Karui touch corruption, and their DNA basically explodes into infectious rage monsters. It's a severe systemic vulnerability. But then, just a short sail up the coast in the town of Kingsmarch, we have the Kalgurans.
The Kalgurans, right. Including characters we interact with regularly, like Danig, Tujin, and Rog. They are not native to Wraeclast. They migrated from the northern continent of Midgard.
And they are completely biologically inert to Wraeclast's divinity and corruption.
Completely inert. They cannot use virtue gems. The magic simply bypasses their cellular structure. The Twilight Order even refers to them as lucky fools with clean souls.
But that immunity makes the actions of their monarch back in Midgard deeply, deeply alarming. The Kalguran king isn't just sitting back enjoying his people's immunity. He is fiercely obsessed with acquiring Vaal artifacts.
Yeah, he's funding massive inland expeditions in Wraeclast specifically to dig these relics up and ship them back north.
And let's contextualize what Vaal artifacts are. The ancient Vaal culture built their entire empire on dangerous thaumaturgy, absolute blood sacrifice and raw corruption. Their relics are highly radioactive, magically speaking.
So, if the Kalgurans cannot naturally interact with thaumaturgy, why does their king have an insatiable, heavily funded appetite for its most potent, corrupted remnants?
That is the terror of the unknown. And the Kalgurans in Kingsmarch know something is very wrong. They are secretly running a shadow operation to intercept these shipments, trying to keep the artifacts away from their own king.
Which is basically treason.
Right, but if you want to know what the king is actually doing with them, you have to look at the chilling fate of Faustus the financier.
Ah, Faustus. He is a crucial data point. He left Kingsmarch, presumably returning to Midgard to report to the king. When he eventually returned to Wraeclast, his entire demeanor had shifted. He was paranoid, haunted.
He had seen behind the curtain, he saw what the king was building, and years later, when Faustus eventually died, he was found clutching a Vol artifact so tightly that his hands had bled.
He was literally taking it to his grave rather than letting it get shipped back to Midgard.
What could possibly terrify a seasoned financier that much? Is the king reverse engineering the corruption? Is he trying to build a non-magical atomic bomb of raw thaumaturgy?
It strongly implies that the Kalgurans' immunity isn't just a quirk, it's a blank canvas. I mean, if you can't be infected by the radiation, you are the perfect person to handle the uranium.
That's a terrifying analogy.
We have to recall a very brief, easily missed conversation early in the act between Doriani and Sin. Doriani is scoffing at humanity's progress. But Sin, the architect who literally built the beast and understands the absolute peak of thaumaturgical engineering, tells Doriani, "Don't discount the Kalgurans just yet. They have potential."
When the guy who designed the world's most devastating suppression engine says a foreign kingdom has potential, you should be absolutely terrified.
It radically expands the scope of the threat. It's not just Countess Oriana we have to worry about. There is a geopolitical time bomb ticking in the north.
So let's look at the state of the board right now, for you listening, as we prepare for the climax. Through our actions, we have cured Tavakai and broken his stubborn isolationism.
We have done the impossible, uniting wildly disparate cultures.
Yeah. The Ezamites, the Maraketh, and now the Karui are standing together. We have built an unprecedented coalition, a massive unified army, and our fleet is ready to sail to Oriath.
The tactical situation is clear. In Oriath, we are going to confront Countess Oriana, her utopian Twilight Order, and the fully revived beast.
We have the precursor weapon, the Third Edict, in our hands.
We know its mechanical purpose is to destroy the beast. We have the military force to breach their defenses.
But I want to leave you with a lingering thought. We started this deep dive by talking about the clean, forward momentum of video games, the simple physics of solving a problem. You strike the bad guy, you win, the credits roll. But Wraeclast isn't clean.
No, it's an ancient machine built by a smiling scientist.
It is a labyrinth of overlapping failsafes. We know the First Edict is broken on that ancient mural, its purpose lost to history.
The Second Edict is the beast we are currently sailing to destroy.
And the Third Edict is the weapon we are bringing to destroy it. But throughout this journey, the Arbiter of Ash, an ancient primal avatar of the cleansing fire, has been warning us of an impending Fourth Edict.
A contingency built for the contingency.
Exactly. What if Countess Oriana, in all her twisted utopian hypocrisy, actually knows something we don't? What if destroying the beast with the weapon isn't actually the end of the nightmare? What if turning off the beast is the exact required trigger to unleash the Fourth Edict upon Wraeclast? We are sailing to Oriath, thinking we are the heroes applying the solution. But we might just be the physical mechanism, turning the key to start the next apocalypse.
It really asks us to question our own agency in this narrative. Are we making choices, or are we simply executing a line of code written in stone thousands of years ago?
Keep your eyes open and your minds sharp, because the answers are buried incredibly deep, and the physics of this world are about to violently shift. Thank you for joining us on this excavation. Stay curious.